Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Adi, and today we have another team report from the Sacramento Regional Championships, and I am joined by special guest. I am joined by your Sacramento Regional Champion, Carson. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good, excited to have won.
Yeah, and I'm also joined by your semifinalist. Sadly, had to play in the semifinals. Joined by Marcus. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I mean, happy to have lost to the champion.
Yeah. And so I guess, Marcus, for those who don't know you, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Marcus Dion. I've been playing Pokemon for a while. I go with Strider online, and this is a very exciting result. Very exciting tournament. I'm pretty infamous for losing, and I did that once here. So it was a very fun tournament. It's the furthest I've gone, so very happy about that.
I don't think you're infamous for losing. That's a that's a little bit of a stretch, but um, yeah. And then Carson, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Sure. I won the 2016 Senior World Championship. 2018 LAIC champion. I've been playing for a really long time. I think since I was 12 years old, 2014. Uh, all my friends play this game, so I'm kind of stuck for life. So just trying to have fun and do my best at every tournament.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're stuck with us. And yeah, let's talk about the team. So Carson, I know we're in Tub, so I saw you Doom posting a lot in the week leading up to this tournament. Tell me about how you built this team and why you decided to run this team.
So team building for me, I'm not much of a builder. I'm more of a team assembler. And for this tournament, I started with OE's top 8 team from LAIC, which had a lot of pieces that I've liked in the past, primarily Indeedee Sneasler, which is something I felt super comfortable with this format. And it was getting pretty close to the tournament, and I didn't have a team, so I decided to kind of lock in on the best Indeedee Sneasler team in the format. And I made some quick comfort changes when I started laddering with it. I switched the Imprison on his Indeedee to protect. I ran Imprison at Louisville where I got top 16, and I didn't click it once the whole tournament. It really comes into play against Hard Trickroom, and Protect helps your margins so much into basically everything that you bring a DD into. So for me, I thought that was a worthwhile change. I clicked Protect a ton at the tournament, so I didn't regret it at all. And then the next slot that I was looking to change was the Dragonite. When I initially was using this team, I was never bringing the Dragonite. I talked to OE, and he said that the Dragonite was only on there to click Haze into Dondozo. And I love Dondozo myself, and I tried to make it work in this metagame for Sacramento, and I could not crack it. And I was like, well, if I can't crack it, I don't think anyone's gonna crack it, which I was wrong. Jake Mueller actually had a really good tournament with Dondozo, but I decided to throw my Dondozo matchup and just not use Dragonite
We went
and not
3-0
really
against him
have.
anyways, though. Like,
We did go 3-0 against Dragonite or against Dondozo, but in my head, this team kind of had a thrown Dondozo matchup. It's definitely something you can play through, though. I mean, you have a ton of special damage and speed controls, so you can beat it, but it's more of an uphill battle than it is with Haze Dragonite, where you just kind of click a move and win. But OE lost to Marco on stream in top 8, and we were kind of scared of the Marco Sun team leading into this tournament. And I'd actually seen some people in Hub about Incineroar as a potential patch to the Marco Sun matchup. And even though I'm not a big fan of Incineroar, and I think this is my first tournament actually ever using it, I wanted to beat Marco Sun, and I thought I could run like an offensive Incineroar that would be more fun and kind of fit the pace of the team. And so to where they are, there was a bunch of tomfoolery with the Talonflame slot. It was a Scarf Basket Legion up until 9 p.m. the day before the tournament, where Marcus convinced me to put Talonflame back on, which probably won me the finals against Joe.
I played 40% of my sets. I kept going around to all my friends at the tournament saying, I cannot believe I almost did not bring Talonflame to this tournament.
See, I didn't bring Talonflame like almost at all this tournament, so I think I would have been fine with Basque Legion instead. But Talonflame definitely does have really good sheep pressure. It's something that people are always thinking like, oh, I gotta respect the Tailwind mode. Like this Tailwind mode could just come in, and I mean, I basically never brought it unless it was like really, really, really well positioned, which it was in a few of my matchups. I think I brought it 4 out of 16 rounds, but it did its job, so I can't complain too much.
Yeah, I think with Talonflame, like one of the biggest things that's been talked about with this archetype specifically, like you have, like, if you're ever looking at this archetype on paper, you are also looking at the like talk behind it. I know Agati made a tweet about it being like, "Oh, it's so easy to click Tailwind, Blood Moon, and then Sneasler and Didi in the back." I know a bunch of people have always just been talking about, "Oh, Talonflame, Blood Moon with Sneasler and Didi. You don't really have to do anything else." And something that was really cool about this team is that Talonflame Blood Moon was not our main mode. It could come to sort of like to our games, but Blood Moon Electabuzz was like the biggest thing. But Talonflame Blood Moon has just been so talked about as an offensive pressure that people have lines catered to that just don't work against redirection plus Blood Moon lead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like like you said, in finals, it definitely came up, and having played against this team a lot on ladder, I know that there's definitely times where Talonflame is really good. But yeah, definitely. When I was watching you play it, man, it feels like it's Electabuzz Blood Moon. It would lead almost every single game.
Yeah, I did just look through my notes, and I brought Talonflame to 6 out of 16 sets, so almost the same percentage as Marcus actually, but it just didn't have a huge impact in a lot of my games. Electabuzz Blood Moon is really the key lead that you're doing for a lot of your games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so talk me through the. I mean, it looks like the EV spreads pretty straightforward. I know there's been some discourse on Twitter about some of the EV spreads, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on why you trained the Pokemon the way that you did.
Yeah.
So
You go first,
I'll
Marcus.
start because the Electabuzz is the main point of contention. I'd say that I've seen people be talking about. I've seen so many people be saying stuff like, "Oh, max speed Electabuzz is so stupid. Why would you ever run that? This is so dumb. You don't max. You can just run timid with not a lot of speed investment." Basically, I brought timid max speed Electabuzz to LAIC, and even though the tournament didn't go very well, that Pokemon was like just so oppressive, and people didn't understand what was happening. I played a set against a guy in the tournament who had like Typhlosion Indeedee, like a super hyper offense team. They led Typhlosion Indeedee into like Typhlosion Indeedee male into my max speed Electabuzz, and I clicked Electro plus Scale Shot into them, and he just looked at me and was like, "What's wrong with you?" And like people just didn't get it, right? So Electabuzz's max speed stat basically creeps Delphox by 1 point, and also speed ties Adamant Sneasler, which is where you get the beautiful gem in Carson and I's mirror match when we both led Sneasler Electabuzz. And this was a 4-way speed tie. Yeah, it's turn 1 of game 1. Any one of these Pokemon could have moved first. It's truly beautiful Pokemon being played. And
Yeah.
then I don't know if you want to go over the other guys, but
Yeah, I can kind of talk to the rest of them because I mean Sneasler, Indeedee, Ursaluna, all 2v2, 2v2, pretty straightforward. The 4 defense on Sneasler improves your skill shot odds by like 17% or something ridiculous, which is kind
also
of funny.
if they're not max attack, with which Joe must have not been because you lived on like a sizable amount of HP in that set when he scale shotted you.
Yeah.
If they're not max attack on Dragonite, the roll just improves so dramatically that it's like it's just so worth for 4 points of investment.
Yeah. Uh the Talonflame, the 12 special defense was so if we led Instant Talon into P2, it got the attack boost, which there was like some fringe cases versus Marco's Sun where if we're calling out their lead, we'd want to lead Talon Instant. So I just thought it was worth 12 points to make sure the P2 can't get going with a special attack boost. And then the Instant was the last spread that was kind of interesting. So the 252 speed, we had like a really fast Instant already. And we were looking at like what all it could outspeed with extra investment. And we realized that if you went max speed, which is 112 speed stat, you're faster than base 100 mods like Charizard if they're at -1 by like a single point. And we thought that was worth it if we ever let Electabuzz Incineroar into Marco's Sun team. And I know it sounds like we're talking about Marco's Sun team a lot. We really expected there to be a lot
Did you
more
play one?
Marco's Sun. The only Sun I played was Joe.
Yeah, I didn't play a single Sun team. So
Yeah. We really expected there to be way more copycats of Marco's team after LAIC. Because I mean we were building this Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday before the tournament. And there just weren't. I tried the team at a local last Sunday and did kind of horrendous. That team is super hard to play. I think other people probably have the same realization that it's just like a very difficult team to play. You have to practice in game. You can't practice on Showdown because of the eject pack bug. So other people didn't pick it up. We were definitely teched out for it if they did, which was helpful into Joe's team as well, especially with the goggles and Incineroar, just being really, really strong into his team. But a
the
lot of
really
the
go ahead. Sorry.
a lot of the like toss-up decisions that we could have made, we put all the text to beating Marco's Sun. And one more funny thing I'll say about the Ensign is that in Tailwind, it just outspeeds modest max speed Scarf Tatsugiri, which stole me game 1 in my second round of day 2, which was hilarious because I had Talon Ensign out and they were like, oh, I have a Scarf Tatsugiri, I'll just go for Muddy Water. And I dual wing beat and knock offed it and killed it before it moved.
Yeah. And so I guess I will pull up the tweet. I saw this on the timeline earlier where they had a lot more complicated EV spread with the Sneasler, and I did see you responded to that. What do you have any thoughts about this you want to share?
You're
I
thinking
don't really
so
think
hard.
there's. Oh, go ahead first, Marcus.
You're thinking so hard for like for what? Like we're just I don't know. There's so much value that you get out of Sneasler just being max in so many different ways, and Sneasler Electabuzz are never on the field at the same time as one another, except in the size spam mirror match. There's literally no other instance where it comes up. And in the size spam mirror match, like the reason we lead that is for their and DD lead, so we're outspeeding our Electabuzz anyways. So it's just like I don't know. I feel like with teams like this, a lot of your thoughts have to go into more impactful things like Terra types, like Terra Fairy on the Talonflame for the Rios matchup, rather than like these EV spreads are great and they sound awesome, but I mean, we got away with 252, 252, so why can't you, right?
I think another thing is that the jump points are kind of fake. Like they're good, but they're also like bait in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason your Sneasler shouldn't be max attack. The helping hand close combat roll on Garchomp is already 87.5% chance to OHKO with 252 attack. And I mean, I know Garchomp wasn't like super popular leading up to Sac, but I mean, it did well at Sac. There was 2 in top 4.
It came up for me.
Yeah, it came up for me too. Like that's an important calc in my opinion to hit because Garchomp is. I mean, if you look at these Pokemon, Garchomp is pretty freaking good into this team. Like being able to just kill it even in Tailwind before it moves is super valuable. There's a bunch more calcs where like you're just gonna want more damage out of your on a pond like that. A jump point and attack is fake.
Yeah.
Like I did the jump point and attack for Ensign, since it's not like hitting any specific KOs, and we wanted to like bias it towards bulk and speed rather than attack, even though we went adamant. But with like super offensive guys, it should really just be you're hitting max.
I think a lot of people realize that bump points exist, and for a long time, like there was a lot of like YouTube stuff or content surrounding like, oh, this is how you should correctly EV your Pokemon, and it's like it works in a lot of instances. The bump are relevant on a lot of teams, but then you get to hyper aggressive teams like this where it's like, if you drop your Sneasler attack, you miss things like like the Garchomp like Carson mentioned, and then like there's so many times that I played against an Assault Vested Blood Moon that lived my Terra Normal Blood Moon, and I knew that they wouldn't be able to live the close combat even if they had like bulk. So if you drop your attack, that can get like very like it's just stuff like that where you don't. There's no need to drop our attacking like our main attacking stats. Like if you drop any investment on Blood Moon too, you lose so many calcs. Like it's
Yeah, you mentioned a couple different roles that I definitely thought was very important, and yeah, just in general, right? If anyone EVs to live something from a Jolly Sneasler, then your Adamant Sneasler has a 50% chance to KO it if it's max attack. I think
Yep.
more or less, right? And so,
Yeah.
losing that role, making that role a little worse, will lose you games more often than the speed ties will lose you games. I think so. Yeah, exactly. And then you mentioned the Terra types were important in some of those matchups. Can you talk me through? You mentioned Terra Fairy specifically on Talonflame. Can you talk me through the important ones of those?
Yeah, I mean the first five Pokemon are pretty straightforward. I mean all of them like Electabuzz is Terra Dragon, but it could have been any type that resists water. That's just there for the Basculegion Rain matchup. But Talonflame was a lot less intuitive. A lot of people are going Stellar. A lot of people, I think we were Steel for the longest time, and by
Yeah, we were
longest time I mean
Steel.
2 days.
2 days.
But the we were we were really struggling with the Rios matchup, the like Sash Annihilate stuff that Eric Rios and Alex Gomez got top 8 at LAIC with, and we had come up with a line where basically our Electabuzz outspeeds and can Electroweb the Annihilate, and the Annihilate at -1 speed ties our Blood Moon. So in these games, because we were messing around with different Pokemon like Basculegion and stuff, and in these games, we kind of realized that a lot of our lines into that team was just revolving around clicking Electroweb and winning the speed tie. So we were trying to figure out a slot to deal with that, and we were like Carson said, we were rotating around a bunch of things. Basculegion was there, and then I kind of had a realization on like when I was sitting in my hotel room the night before, and I was just sitting there. I'm like, well, we're afraid of them leading Annihilate Dragonite. Will-O-Wisp does pretty well into those guys, and like if we don't let them scale shot, then we're probably fine, right? And I'm just sitting there, and it's like, okay, so like if we can get a Will-O-Wisp off and not take a scale shot, then we probably are just in a super good spot. And it just clicked that Terra Fairy Talonflame was gonna work, and I ran like one set against one of my roommates, and I just messaged Carson and I'm like, it's Terra Fairy Talonflame. It has to be. And I'm so glad we made that change because it meant we can have Talonflame again and still be good into the Eric Rios Alex Gomez matchup. And again, that's one thing that's a matchup that I think we vastly overestimated its presence in the tournament. I don't
Definitely.
think either of us played one either. So it
Yeah.
was like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of our meta predictions were very off for this tournament, but we ended up doing well anyways. So I guess who cares?
Yeah, I personally didn't actually press Terra Fairy on the Talonflame a single time, but I did lose my third round to forgetting that we had Terra Fairy on the Talonflame. If I had pressed it, I would have won my third round. So I don't think it was a bad call. I just kind of forgot it was there. And I wanted to,
I clicked it once, and it was good.
yeah, I did want to say something kind of funny that happened. My winning in round 8 of Swiss day 1, I was 5-2, and we go to game 3, and he leads the lead we're talking about, Annihilate Dragonite, and I led Electabuzz Blood Moon, and I was like, I don't really know what I can do except just press Electro Web and Blood Moon into this Annihilate and hope I win the speed tie. And it goes off. I go first. I win the game pretty easily after that because took his Annihilate out turn 1. And after the game, I'm like, hey, was your Annihilate max speed Jolly? And he was like, oh, actually, I was like 228 V's Jolly on my Annihilate. And I was like, oh my God. Thank you so much. Because I could have gone 5-3 if this guy ran max speed EVs on his Annihilate. And I mean, I predicted him coaching turn 1, and that's why I went for the speed tie. But I mean, I didn't ask him what he clicked. He might have clicked close combat into my Blood Moon. So I'm very grateful that he was 228 speed EVs.
Yeah, guys, run max speed, if you can. That's really the lesson here. But yeah. So with that, let's talk about the how to play the team. I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but if someone wanted to pick up the team for Toronto Regionals or maybe for the Grand Challenge, what are the common game plans that you do, and what are the matchups that you kind of have planned out?
I mean, in probably 75% of your games, you're just gonna lead Electabuzz Blood Moon with Indeedee Sneasler in the back. And I
It's so
think
broken.
there's a lot of teams in the meta that you can get away with doing that. We're seeing some more counterplay
Yeah.
to those 4 come out just as a result of Marcus and I doing so well at Sacramento, but you can get away with doing those 4 into a lot of matchups and you'll be fine. And then Ensign and Talon are just they're kind of for the tricky matchups. Ensign, I like to say, is just the mon that gives you the ability to player diff someone. Like all the matchups that you're bringing Ensign to, except Sun, are kind of negative matchups, and it's stuff like Hard Trick Room or Sand or just some like
Rilla,
funky
DA.
Rillaboom Dragonite stuff. And having Incineroar just kind of gives you the space needed to be a better player than them and still win the match, even though it's not a very positive matchup. And then, honestly, I don't really know what matchups I would say Talonflame comes to. Just stuff that's really weak to Tailwind, honestly.
You'll
Or
see it. Like if you're looking at your opponent's team sheet, I'd say obviously your default plan is Electabuzz Blood Moon, but like look at the team sheet and see if they have anything to deal with Tailwind Blood Moon. And like a lot of the time in the first few rounds of the tournament, they don't. Like there's just like not a lot they can do to deal with the amount of damage output that comes from a fast Blood Moon. And then when you get into your later rounds of the tournament, Electabuzz comes more into the play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Watching Second Regionals this past weekend, and seeing this team on stream a couple different times, I think we've seen people really map out their lines into this team a lot more. I think this was very, very unexpected going into it, so I feel like, and I've also seen the people who use this team have also been a little more willing to switch it up. I saw was it Sharabai, I think, who was like leading in DD Sneasler a little more on stream, just because I think a lot of the just because like someone's figured out a lead that counters Electabuzz Blood Moon or Talonflame Blood Moon doesn't mean that it also beats the other modes that you have, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, indeed, Sneasler is still an extremely strong lead combination. It doesn't just have to be a back Pokemon. Like I did Indeedee Sneasler lead a few times with like Talonflame Blood Moon in the back, and it just worked because they will dedicate resources to trying to deal with your Tailwind mode, which usually means either their own speed control or like their own like that kind of stuff. And Indeedee Sneasler usually shuts that down. And then Tail and Blood Moon, they've gotten rid of their resources for it early game, and now they can't really stop it late game, right?
Were there any matchups that you had planned out where you really had to deviate from that game plan?
You're gonna hear this a lot from us and how much we prepped for this tournament or this team specifically, but it's just Marco's son. Like that's like the most deviant plan I think we had, which was just instant Blood Moon. Still, like it's not that out there, but it's basically the idea was you would lead instant Aurora Blood Moon into their instant P2. You would trade fake outs and then click because your instant's faster, you would knock off the P2 and Terra Normal Blood Moon. And no matter what their instant did, you would still kill the P2. Like they could parting shot or they could knock off and the P2 would still go down. So that was the Marco Sun solution that we had in place. But other than that, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head, but Carson, I don't know if you have.
I had a few where I had to I don't know if deviate from my set game plans is the right phrasing, since I didn't really have any set game plans going into the tournament besides like the Marco Sun one and the like Rios balance team matchups, which I didn't even play any of them. But like top 16, I faced Brian Collins, who's using like Psy Spam Hard Trick Room, and I had to play pretty funky against that, just like bringing stuff that I wouldn't normally bring, like because of his team, like my whole game plan was to force him into 50-50s and then win those 50-50s, and that's what I did versus him. And like my round 13, or I guess that's top 8 versus Eric, he had like Sand with Indeedee Sneasler, which was super tough for us. And I was bringing like instant Blood Moon versus him. And then again in that like top 16 match, I was using instant in the back as like a turn 1 pivot. Just like first tough matchups, you're gonna have to mix it up a little bit. Like definitely lean on the Incineroar for the harder matchups. Just because it's such a flexible Pokemon for these tough matchups. Even with Psychic Terrain, taking Fake Out, like making Fake Out not work sometimes. Like Parting Shot's still so good. Using Intimidate
awesome. Yeah.
for like Sneasler.
Yeah.
Oh, Sneasler lives a skill shot now. Indeedee lives a skill shot now. Ursaluna lives a close combat now.
Yeah.
We saw that for like Incineroar lives a close combat from Sneasler. That when we game 3 it's Marcus in top 4. And I think Incineroar is the main like good mix up that the team has when you need to deviate off of like the Buzz, Blood Moon, Indeedee Sneasler. And I think that's what made, at least for me, the team so successful this weekend, was just being able to play through the bad matchups with Incineroar instead of just like getting matchup checked and fizzling out in top 16 or top 8.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's no mystery why Instant is like the best Pokemon. Like, I think this is the first tournament that both Carson and I have brought Instant to in at least recent memory. I think I haven't brought Instant to a tournament since like 2022. And
I've
big
never
shocker.
done it.
Big shocker. The first time we do it, Carson wins and I get top 4, right? Like, wow. What a good Pokemon.
Yeah, maybe we've been handicapping ourselves.
That's perfect screenshot.
we got so many of these.
No,
these are
me,
all
Gambino.
just from one group chat too. Like,
dude, Gambino has their own share of these screenshots. It's like Carson was doomering so much in the lead up to this event. I was doomering so much in the lead up to this event too. There's a really funny screenshot of me like screaming about how I never get a Dire Claw status, and then it's like there's so much that just went wrong in the prep for this tournament. And then the tournament went so well.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, with that, let's talk about the tournament itself. And so yeah, like I said, both of y'all did super well. Marcus, you were actually undefeated all the way until the very last round, where you'd already locked up that bye in top cut. Do you have a few highlight matches that you wanted to talk about from your tournament run?
Yeah. Let me think about it. So there was a couple cool games. I'd say in day one, like my tightest match was probably ironically against Abe in round one. Abe and I have played like a ton of times in tournament. This is like the fourth time we've played in tournaments. This is the third time we played in round one of a tournament. And this was super tough because the Blood Moon was EV to live Terra Normal Blood Moon and Close Combat. So usually you get like a kind of pinch there where you can take it out with one of those two, but it lived both. So it got really dicey, but I was able to make some pretty aggressive calls in game three with like I led Talonflame Blood Moon all three games, and game three I just predicted that they were going to try and match my Tailwind with Volcarona, and won the game off of that. But that was a pretty good set. My match against Siddharth was really funny. So Siddharth was playing pretty standard, like instant P2 gold and go Amoonguss, which can be pretty suspect some of the time. So I was leading Electabuzz Blood Moon, and in game one, Siddharth was able to maneuver into a position where P2 got Trick Room up. And to win the game, I had to get like 3 consecutive Trick Room reversal calls correct. So like we were in Trick Room and I had DD Sneasler, and I protected Sneasler on a double up into it and reverse Trick Room. The next turn, Siddharth switches into like Dragonite or something that was like super low HP. Dragonite goes down to the Sneasler attack, and P2 clicks Trick Room, and then DD clicks Trick Room again. And then there's like the last turn of the game, before Siddharth forfeited, I had to take down the instant, but there was still potential for P2 to win the game if Trick Room got up because of how the HP stats were working. And P2 clicked Trick Room, and I clicked Trick Room again. So it was just super funky there. And then game two, Siddharth led Sneasler Dragonite into my Electabuzz Blood Moon. And I just sat there, and I looked at Siddharth as a friend, and I just looked at them in the eyes, and I was like, okay. And I clicked Electroweb Terra Normal Hyper Voice as they coaching the Dragonite and scale shotted the Electabuzz, and the game was just instantly over. There was like this Sneasler goes down, Dragonite's at neutral speed and at like 5 HP. There was nothing that could happen there, and there was a few games like that in the tournament where, I mean, to play this team, you have to have some serious stones. Like you have to make some calls, some predictions against these like very good balanced players. You have to understand how they think, and I think this is a pretty good representation of that. My match against Karan was on stream. That was pretty good.
Killed all of Team
Jake,
India, huh?
Yeah, no, for real. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I'm not gonna lie. And then Jake, we can talk about Jake. That was pretty. This was an interesting matchup because for whatever reason, Jake was afraid of bringing Dondozo into us until game 3, and I didn't understand that. But he was still making it really tough with the Rillaboom, King Gambit in the back because I mean, obviously, Rillaboom plus support can be quite good into our team. So I think I lost game 1 to a Dire Claw. I positioned Indeedee against like Sash Sneasler, and the Sneasler was brought down to Sash, and my Indeedee was still full HP. And the only way that I could lose the game was if like a Dire Claw happened, and it was full Para that lost me game 1. And then game 2, I led Talonflame against Ninetales, and like turn 1 just instantly Flare Blitz crit, which would like Flare Blitz would like I know it's super effective, but through Snow with the defense boost, it would never get the Ninetales there, but with a crit 100%. So I won game 2 off of that, and then game 3, Jake leads Sneasler Dondozo, and I lead Blood Moon Talonflame, and I'm a Dondozo player. I know how they think. and you can't let Dondozo take special damage before it goes into Tots. So I kind of just sat there and I was like, okay, I have a pretty good like middle ground line here, which is just a Terra Normal of the Blood Moon. Send Blood Moon into the Dondozo. If he switches and if he boosts with Tatsugiri, the Dondozo takes like 50%, 60% from Terra Normal Blood Moon, and I don't die to Wave Crash because I'm like tearing out of the resistance. Or the weakness, sorry. And I'm gonna dual wing beat the Sneasler, so to cover for the Dondozo protecting that turn. Because I don't think that they're gonna commit Terra Fairy to the Sneasler in this match. And the Sneasler protects and Dondozo tries to go for substitute and Terra Normal Blood Moon just kills it and Jake forfeits on turn 2. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That's how that one went. And then I think the last round of Swiss, this matchup looked a little sus, and I was already guaranteed the bye. So I kind of just wanted to see if we were able to get away with Electabuzz Blood Moon into this. Spoiler, we were not, because the Hydreigon was Timid Max, and that still outspeeds the Blood Moon at -1. So I did lose this set, but I was kind of trying to avoid leading what I think is the better combination of leads into this, which is Talonflame Blood Moon. I think that is probably much better into this team than what I was leading, but I knew that there was a likelihood that Carson or I would play against this guy again in Top Cut, so I didn't want to reveal what we were doing so he could find lines into that. And then Joseph Selmer, that was a good set. Kalen's a good friend. This is a really fun set that kind of just it is another one of the like Vincent and Mungus P2 Golden Go teams, right? This is on stream if you want to watch it. I think how Kalen played this matchup was probably influenced by us. Just like we're really good friends and we were hanging out backstage, having a lot of fun watching the other top 8 matches. So that it took a lot of the pressure off. It was a really fun set. Game 1 was really close. I think I got a pretty lucky Blood Moon crit like on turn 2 of the game into the Golden Go. That probably just won me the game, but he made it really close. And then game 2, Kalen set Trick Room when he shouldn't have. And if you mess up against our team in a matchup like this that bad, then you're gonna lose the game. Like setting up Trick Room in front of Blood Moon Electabuzz is just not like you can't do it. When you're like slow mode Pokemon or Amoonguss and Golden Go, because Amoonguss doesn't accomplish anything under Trick Room because of Electabuzz, and Golden Go just gets either forced to Terra by Earth Power or knocked out by Earth Power before it can move, right? So it's this is a very cool set, but then we meet in the middle here. We'll do the little baton pass here, but the top 4 match against Carson. Shocker, you've never seen this team before, right? This was funky. Game 1, I think I played... Carson will probably talk about this too, but I think I got caught up in how funny it was that we were both leading Sneasler Electabuzz and that it was a 4-way speed tie. That I forgot that I was supposed to protect the Sneasler on turn 1 to preserve speed. So Carson just protected Sneasler and Electrowebbed my Sneasler, and I was -1 speed, and I just sat there. I was like, oh, yeah, I think I lose now. And then game 2, I saw Carson's end of the stream, and he let Sneasler Electabuzz again. He locked in to protect Taunt really fast, and I just sat there, and I was like, this will probably work. And I protected on the Taunt and Earth Powered the Electabuzz, and that, I mean, the game was like close-ish still because the matchup's really weird, but the game was, I was in such a driver's seat position from there. And then game 3, 50-50, really funny. There was a...
Hey, I watched it back. It was actually a 75-25. You had to win 2 50-50s in a row.
I did?
And I only had to win one of the 2.
Oh, shame.
So
I did miss an Electroweb though, so
true.
there's that.
I didn't miss one the whole tournament.
I hate you. I think I actually think that's the first Electroweb I missed. So I think it's just cosmic interference at that point. But I mean, honestly, like we were talking about it. This was a really good tournament for me, and I'm really happy with the result. Going out the way that you lose the tournament being in top 4 to a really good friend in an identical mirror match on what we thought was like a 50-50 at the time, like there's worse ways to go. Like it was very fun tournament, and I mean there's only one possible better finish for the two of us, and that's playing in finals, which that's very hard to do. So
Yeah. Well, with that, Carson, do you want to give us a rundown of how your tournament run went?
Sure. So I guess I'll just kind of go over some highlight matches. My round 2 was pretty funny. I lost game 1 actually. Terrifying Tyranitar is kind of tricky, and I had a read like turn 1 game 1, but it was like too early in the day and I wasn't feeling it yet, so I was too scared to go for it, and it would have just won me the game on the spot. And so I was kind of disappointed losing that first game. Game 2, he didn't play as well, and so I won that one. And then game 3, he goes back to his original lead, which was Sneasler Golden Go. And game 1, he had switched the gold to T-Tar turn 1. And I was like, okay, I didn't trust myself enough to go for it game 1. Game 3, I'm going to trust myself. He's doing it again because he thinks it's riskless. And so I just close combat the gold. T-Tar switches in. I went on the spot.
Mhm.
And I felt pretty good about that one because it was like a super hard matchup with the T-Tar, and he had Tailwind as well. Like the Typhlosion could get up to some annoying stuff. So I was happy to win that one. My third round, that's the one I lost because I forgot that my Talonflame was Terra Fairy. He was leading his, and I led my Talonflame. I just totally forgot. I thought I was still Terra Steel, since I just switched it like the night before when I was at the airport, and just kind of let the game get away from me. With his Dragonite, got like 2 skill shots down and was just a little too fast for me to deal with. And he ended up making day 2, I believe.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's see. My round 5 versus Shrey, I don't want to call him out too much, but I felt like they kind of gave up in our set. Like he led P2 Ensign into Buzz Blood Moon. He brought Amoonguss Ursaluna in the back, and I was just kind of like, what are we doing here? Because I just get the taunt. I get the taunt off turn 1. I was just pressing me with attacks the rest of the game. I think I might have revealed one back Mon. Always pretty awful matchup into Electabuzz, especially an Electabuzz that's faster than it, and it can just taunt and then start redirecting hurricanes. But this one was pretty easy. I'm not gonna lie. He kind of just I think knew he was tired of the matchup because game 1 was closer, but I think game 2 he just still had a good tournament. He went 8-3, so congrats to them for pulling back from that one. Round 7, I'll talk about that matchup a bit more because I played them again in top 8, and then my round 8 was the one I talked about with the not full EDVs. Round 9 versus Carl, that was another close one. Carl played that really well. It was a 3-game set. I had to try out some interesting stuff. My game 3, I actually led Buzz and Didi, since I realized that getting off E-Forces into this team was super strong. Archaludon with no Assault Vest and both have real special defense stats, so I just paired my Didi and started putting out damage, and then kind of kept my Ensign in the back for the Golden Go, and was able to get it in and just, I think, Flare Blitz it and win that one. My round 10 was against the Dondozo, which I was really not happy about at all to face because I thought this was going to be the end of the tournament. But this is where the instant spread came in super clutch, just barely out modest scarf tattoo. And I was just able to I did use Talonflame this set. I was able to just go first before everything but the Sneasler and just put a little too much damage into him. The Dondozo was able to Paranormal Bloodman that and take it out of the game before it could do much. My final round of Swiss before cut was who Marcus had known he was facing in his round 9, since Marcus and Carter were the two 8-0s. And so we had prepped this matchup a lot the night before, and we kind of had a game plan that we were going to execute versus this. And I talked to Marcus as well, since Marcus had already beaten him. And I just did kind of the same thing Marcus did. And so this was a matchup that I was like, okay, I feel really, when I saw the, I was like, okay, I'm going to make cut now.
It also really helped that we figured out that the Terranormal Hyper Voice helping hand was a roll for a graph. Because I played against him and I didn't get the helping hand Terranormal Hyper Voice roll against the draft. Carson did get the roll. So,
I did get the roll, and I automatically won off that. Well, Marcus had said he lived on
he
1
lived on
HP,
like 5, but still.
and then
yeah,
we ran the calc and realized it was a roll, and I was like, need to go for it. Where if I missed it, like I was okay, but if I hit it, it did just instantly win me the game. Moving on though to top 32 versus Aaron Trailer. Not a whole lot to say about that one. It was on stream. This is actually one we did practice against. We had lines in this, and I kind of just executed the lines. Top 16. I talked about this one a bit earlier, but this was definitely one where Incineroar was like a huge factor. This was a really tough matchup where if this Torkoal got in Trick Room for free with full HP and like at least, then I automatically lost. Like there was zero way I win if the Torkoal gets in with 3 or 4 turns of Trick Room. So it was really like kind of dancing around each other, trying to like make sure, like he's trying to make sure that his Torkoal can get in. So he's like delaying his Trick Room or like setting it, then resetting it, then setting it again, just to try and like get this Torkoal in with enough turns to where I can't like protect cycle through it. And I'm just trying to stop him at any cost from doing this. Game 1, he used the mouse hold super well to kind of like speed sandwich me, where the mouse hold was faster than everything I had on the field, but then Didi was slower than everything I had on the field. And if I just killed the mouse hold, then Didi would set up Trick Room, and then suddenly he has Torkoal in with Terra active. He has Follow Me and Helping Hand, and I'm just cooked. Like it's over. And he was able to get the Torkoal in the first game, and so I lost. The second game, I used Incineroar a lot better than I did the first game, and I was able to prevent him from like getting in a good position where Torkoal was able to just press Eruption versus the team. And then the third game was the one I mentioned earlier where I just was like, okay, I'm going to force you to play the 50-50s that I want to play. And I know we both know like the calcs now. I just wanted to be like kind of sure that he'd seen the Paranormal Hyper Voice calc and was aware that with a helping hand I could kill him, because I was able to like click a different move besides Hyper Voice while he's predicting the Hyper Voice, and just kind of win the 50-50 that way. And like he didn't go for Trick Room because he thought on the Hatterene because he thought it was gonna die. He went for like Dazzling Gleam or E-Force or something, and I was able to win that way. But that was a super tough one. I had to play differently than I'd played the whole tournament, which I guess is kind of how it always goes when you face hard Trick Room. It's kind of a different game. But I was pretty proud of myself for how I approached that matchup, since it's really not something that Marks and I's team has a lot of tools to deal with, especially since we got rid of the Imprison on Indeedee. Like, that's kind of the matchup. Like, at Louisville, I ran Terra Ghost, Imprison, Indeedee Mail, which just is super good into this team. But without that, this team becomes a lot harder. And I think that Incineroar was definitely the key to being able to like weather the Trick Room turns and take a E-Force and put things in a range where they won't die to Pop Bomb anymore. But it was really funny actually. My Sneasler died to a -2 Pop Bomb from full. So Intimidate's not everything there. But I think that's all I have to say on the top 16. Definitely, I know Brian's a viewer of yours, so definitely congrats to him on the tournament, and that was a super fun set. My top 8 versus Eric was one where I went to this match thinking that I had already lost, since Exegro T-Tar is pretty tough for the team, but Marcus and I spent some time preparing for this matchup, and we're able to find a line where we used Ensign and Blood Moon off the rip to kind of make sure that the Excadrill and T-Tar couldn't immediately start killing things, and we're able to put chip damage into the Mons and kind of establish a board state where Sneasler in the back could win. And I think the biggest key that we changed from when I lost to him in Swiss on day 1 was I knew he was going to bring his Indeedee, so I didn't have to bring mine, since it's not very good here. Like, he can Terra Dark, the Sneasler, and then T-Tar, Exca, his Indeedee, they don't really care about taking an E-Force. And like, I was losing my Sash to Sand already, so it just wasn't very good in the matchup. And I actually brought Talonflame instead in the back, so I was able to get Will-O-Wisp pressure onto him in the back and still get the Psychic Seed proc for Unburden, so I could go faster than his Indeedee. And I think that like just a little extra margin is what was able to win me the top 8 set. But that was another one where like I really had to think outside the box of what I normally would do with my team. Like, against something like this, you can't just like autopilot Buzz, Blood Moon, Indeedee, Sneasler and just collect your free win. Like, you really have to use the pieces you have in creative ways to solve the problem.
Yeah. And I was watching the tournament, I was streaming the tournament, and I saw that you had Brian and then Eric, and I was like, man, this Carson's run is over. He's cooked. I cannot believe that you got through both those matchups. They look like kind of terrible matchups for the team. So it really is a testament to how well you played.
Dude, we were sitting backstage, like Kaylin and I were sitting backstage waiting for it, waiting to go on for our top 8 match, and I stopped checking Arcanine at some point, and then as soon as Joe's, or no, it was the other guy, I forget his name, but
Akil?
Akil, Akil, yeah. Their match was wrapping up on stream, and I checked Arcanine, and I saw Carson Comfort win Eric Schrader, and I was like, what? We actually did it? Oh my god! Wait, because like the entire time I was doing backstage, I was like, man, dude, Eric's gonna beat Carson, and then doesn't like even if I beat you, Kayla, like I'm gonna play this against this Eric guy, and then man, he's got Joe after that. It's Sand against Sun. That's so good for him. And then everything changed. It was a brain expansion as soon as I see Carson won, because I was like, wait, it's not over. It's not cooked.
Yeah, I still can't believe I won that one. It did not look good when I saw the pairing. I was doomering pretty hard, but I'm glad I was able to figure out a way through that one. And then obviously faced Marcus in top 4 Wish he could have waited till the finals, but the mirror. I think we both had the same idea of what we wanted to do game 1. I was really hoping Marcus had forgot when I told him how to play the mirror, like on Thursday. And I was hoping you led Sneasler and DD, and I could just like go up 1-0 with Electabuzz Sneasler, but unfortunately he remembered, so I had to actually play Pokemon. And game 2, he definitely called me out with the turn 1, and I think my Incineroar adjustment was pretty good game 3 because I realized like Blood Moon was just dying to a close combat or a Terrapsychic E-Force, and it wasn't like providing a lot unless I like tried to support it super heavily off the rip like Marcus did game 2. And if I did that and Marcus did it as well, we were just gonna both press Hyper Voice, and whoever won the Hyper Voice speed tie won. And I didn't want to do that, so I brought the Ensign. I was able to get the Intim off on the Sneasler and take a close combat, and that's what got me into the finals. But it was kind of crazy. Like, I think I had the best tournament on day 2, but overall in the tournament, I think Marcus definitely had like the best run of anyone. Like the 10-0 start. I don't even know if like the loss can fully be counted in round 11 because it's like when you have the bye already locked up, like there's really no incentive to try. You almost want to throw so you don't reveal your game plan unless you're like actively trying to gatekeep someone from cut, since it's always going to be a down pair. And so his only real loss was to me in top 4, and there's a lot of mind games and coin flips and obviously speed ties with that. So uh, I can't believe we both had such a good tournament,
Yeah.
especially off such little prep.
Well, I'm just like, it's such. I was sitting there after like watching finals, and I was just thinking like, and it's like, it's such a testament. Like we owned this tournament. Like the only person that could stop, like us was each other and Tito X Kidro, and that was like that was it. Like it was a very very good tournament for us.
Absolutely.
Obviously, but
Y'all
smashed the meta call. You just had no one was using the team for some reason. I was even the week before the tournament, I was saying this is the team to pick up. I think this is the strongest team that no one's using. And y'all really perfected it. I love the goggles and Incineroar adjustment, and yeah, obviously played really really well. Just both of you guys just were so impressive over the course of that weekend.
Thank you. And I'll just go over finals briefly since I went through everything else. Everyone watched that one on stream. It's finals. I'm sure if people care enough to click on this report, they probably watched the finals as well. But I did think it was funny how much RNG went into this, like on both sides. I've had a lot of regionals where I felt like I played well enough to win, and I just got unlucky at some point or another during top cut. And this is one where I definitely kind of got bailed out game 3 with all the overheat misses. I think only the first one really
actually,
mattered,
yeah.
but it definitely felt nice to be the lucky one for a change. But like Joe's scale shot didn't kill me game 1, so I won that one. Game 2, he dodged like 2 or 3 dire claw procs in a row to win that, so he's able to get the win. And then game 3, my Talonflame was just bobbing and weaving. I didn't even have to send in the back 2, so it was kind of a weird set, but super happy to get the win.
Yeah.
Any way, shape, or form. So,
dude, Joe played out of his mind that set. It was so impressive. Because I thought you were favored. Like the side ice spinner play was so crazy. To get himself back into game 2.
I think that was a throw.
I also think
that
it was a throw.
was such a throw. Actually, the side ice spinner looked cool, but I was so much more scared of him having the jump bluff
To click Encore.
active, to click Encore, to click Sleep Powder. Like him side ice spinnering, I think was the only way I got back in the game. And so I actually double protected, hoping he would side ice spinner, because then I knew like I either have to call his protect with the Dire Claw, or I need to get a Dire Claw proc and I'll win. So I was
Interesting.
stoked when he side ice spinnered. I think that was the only way that I could even get a chance to win that game. Because if he just didn't side ice spinner, he could just encore me to protect the next turn.
Well, so what Rajan was saying when he was in call with me for finals was that the only way that you lost that game was double protecting, and also him making that play. So I don't know. I haven't gone back and watched finals. I haven't gone and evaluated it, but no, I thought that the matchup did seem like it was you favored, and obviously Joe also got a little lucky. I was watching the stream, man. He did not get a single Dire Claw proc against him the entire tournament. Not in top 4, not in finals. It was insane. It was absolutely crazy.
He's just immune, man.
Yeah,
dude. I'm convinced that this man just has like some sort of different console than ours when it comes to Sleep Powder. Something needs to be checked out there, man. Like he didn't miss a single one the entire, and I even called it out, like, because they interviewed me before finals, and I was like, yeah, Joe can't keep hitting his Sleep Powders forever, but he did. He kept hitting his Sleep Powders. It's the overheats that he missed. Like, it was crazy.
He told me on stage, right after the finals ended, that this was the first time he missed overheat the whole tournament. And then he missed 3 in a row. It just all came back.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it goes, right? That's Pokemon. But I really did think he played that finals really, really well. And it was a really fun set to watch. But yeah, congratulations again to both of you guys for really, really impressive tournament runs. We've got the rental code on screen up here, and the paste will be in the description down below if you want to use this team on ladder at the Global Challenge or at your locals or at Toronto Regionals. Definitely recommend that you try it out. It's one of the strongest teams in the format, and I think if we look back at this format, if we revisit this format maybe later on, I think this is going to be one of the teams that we look back on and say this is one of the teams to beat, one of the more iconic teams in this format. So yeah, it definitely recommend you try it out. Did you have any final words or shoutouts that you wanted to give?
Mark, so I'll let you go first.
Sure, man. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really happy to have broken my top 16 ceiling in my my 1-5 stream record. It was a very positive tournament overall for that. And I'm really happy that Carson and I were able to. We've worked together for quite some time, and this is the first time that we've had like a joint successful tournament run. And like, what a way to do it, right? Like, ending playing in top 4. I couldn't have dreamed of a better conclusion to the tournament. So it was very, very fun, and of course, as always, shout outs to Gambito, all my friends, that stuff.
Yeah, I guess I'll close it out. I also had a really bad stream record before this. I was 0-8 post-COVID, so very happy to. Well, I think I won 3 games this weekend, so 3-8 now. Getting closer to positive, but yeah, it was a great tournament. First time that Marks and I built together, and both of us have done well. Every other time, it's either we both do awful or I do well and he does not good. So this time we both did well, which is awesome. Yeah, and finally, shout outs. Just same people I shouted out on stream. Shout out to my fiance Sydney, my parents who were watching the whole way, and the rest of my family, and then Gambito and Tub for building with me.
Yeah, well, thank you guys both for coming by and sharing your team. And sharing all of your insights. I really appreciate it. And congratulations once again. And until next time, I will see you all later.